Hi, you guys. Today we're going to be working on discriminants. So, discriminants is part of the big quadratic formula, which we will get to next week. But the big thing on the discriminant, it tells you, just by doing this one little piece of the quadratic formula, it tells you how many times the graph will cross the x-axis. Okay? It's going to just tell us that if we're going to have if it's going to cross twice, once, or no times. And when it doesn't cross it, we call it imaginary. Um, so we're going to look at this first equation. And what the very first thing is, we need to get the equation to equal 0. So the very first thing is we're going to move the 4, and since it's a positive 4, minus it, and we're going to move it over. So we're going to get 12x squared plus 5x minus 4 equals 0. And if you remember what we did last week, we did those factoring using diamond. We found out what A, B, and C is. A is with the x squared. B is with the x. And C does not have any x's in it. Or if you look up here, ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so we're going to do it that way. Now, if we put it into our formula, we have b squared minus 4ac. So we're going to, and definitely have your calculators out. I'm getting mine out. So we're going to go b squared, so 5 squared minus 4 times your a times your c. And we're just going to put it in. So 5 squared we know is 25. Negative times negative is positive. And 4 times 12 times 4 gives me 192. Add those together, and you get 217. And if you get a positive number, we know we're going to have two solutions. And what that just means is that it's going to cross the x-axis twice. And I have it on, I already graphed it on Desmos. So here we have our first equation in the red. And we can see that it does cross at negative 0.822 and 4.05. So we do know it's going to cross there. And if I go back, I'm going to say this is negative 1. There's 1. So this one is at here. This one's here. And I'm just going to do a very generic graph. We know it's going to come up and over. Okay. It's going to hit it 2 times. So these 2 times. That's why we know it's going to be 2 real solutions. So if anything is bigger than 0, we say it's just 2 real solutions. And when you do it on the assignment, you're going to have to tell me what the b squared minus 4ac came out to be, and if it's 2, 1, or no solutions. So make sure you write this down on your notes. It'll make it a lot easier. Okay, next one, we're going to move the 16 over because it's not equal to 0. Move it over. We get x squared minus 8x plus 16. And whenever there's no number in front of a letter, it's always going to be a 1. B is negative 8. C is 16. So just like we did before, put it into the equation. And whenever I have a negative and I have to square it, put it in parentheses. Otherwise, it's going to really, really mess you up and give you a different answer. It's 4 times your A times your C. And we all know that negative 8 times negative 8 is 64. Minus 4 times 1 times 16 is also going to be 64. So it's going to be 0. So 0. When it becomes 0, it means it has one solution. What that means is that the graph is going to touch the x-axis once and then jump back up. So let me close that one down. And here's our second one. And we can see it touches at 4 when x is 4 and then jumps right back up. That's all it means. So that's how you know it's one solution. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to go like this. Sorry, it looks more like a V, but we wanted a U shape. So if it equals 0, then it means one solution. Only touching once. It touches it and bumps back up. Okay, the last one, what does it look like when our b squared minus 4ac is less than 0? So we want to move it. We want our equation to equal 0, so we're going to move the 4 to the other side. Put it in. And then find our a, b, and c. This is really going to help us for next week when we do the big quadratic formula. Because if you can find a, b, and c, and you can put it into this formula, the rest is much, much easier. Okay, so we're going to go b squared, so 3 squared. I just put it in parentheses. You don't if it's positive. I'm just used to doing it all the time. Minus 4 times your a times your c. All right, so 3 squared is 9. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 4 is 32. And then we're going to subtract that, and we get it to be negative 23. So we get it to be a negative number. So when it's negative number, we say no real solutions. If we weren't on digital online learning, if we were in the classroom, we'd actually learn that later on, these would be imaginary solutions. But we won't go into that one or complex solutions. We'll be going on to that a lot later, or if you go any higher in math. So if we graph this one, close that one off. Here, we can see it does not touch the x-axis. The vertex is going to be here, negative 0.75 and 2.8. It's not going to cross the x-axis at all. So and it's going to cross right here, and it's going to go up. So it never crosses the x-axis, so that's why we say it is no real solutions. Okay? Remember, on the assignment, you're going to tell me what is the discriminant and if it has 2, 1, or no real solutions. Make sure you're able to put it into the b squared minus 4ac and make sure that the equation equals 0. I don't want to see on this last one, you say c is negative 4. It'll give you a total different answer. Always make sure it equals 0. Okay, and I hope that helps you guys. Good luck on the assignment today.